Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. It is great to be back and hopefully without any mistakes because, after all, the last time we started up, it was a little bit of a bumpy ride. I, of course, am your host, Marc Williams. I'm getting ready for March Madness in the NHL and joined by the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Fokowski.
Just get me to playoffs.
Yeah, that's something that our last man says from the fourth period, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Yeah, no consistency for the blue and orange. Man, it's just madly frustrating. That's all I could say.
It has to be, especially coming off of that 6-game win streak, and then they have as many goals scored in the last week as they did wins in the previous 2. And you can't blame Bo Horvat because he's got half of them. And I guess that's, you know what? That's a good talking point. Let's just start right there today as we go to the A block, guys. Anthony, going to your beat, the New York Islanders, who they've just had a rough go of it the last week. They went on the 6-game heater, and then they've been 0-4-1 since then. These are the numbers in the last 5 games: 6 goals for, 20 goals against. And Money Puck right now, Anthony, is saying 17% chance to make the playoffs. How dire is tomorrow night's game against the Detroit Red Wings?
I mean, very. You're talking, you win and you're 1 point behind Detroit with a game in hand for a playoff spot, which obviously is that's 1 point out with a game in hand. That's good situation. You lose though, and now you're 5 points behind them, and that becomes more of a dicier scenario that they'll be looking at. So, Mark, I mean, if that was a bar talk topic, that's the easiest layup of all time. Extremely dire. It's their season. Yes, exactly. Their season is on the line tomorrow. They have to beat Detroit. Again, if they do, believe it or not, despite losing 5 in a row, it puts themselves in a good spot, which just goes to show how pathetic the Eastern Conference wildcard race has been the last little while here. But this is really, really frustrating. I mean, I said 2 weeks ago to get back in the thick of things, they needed to stop with the win one, lose one. They needed to rattle off, 5, 6 in a row. And they did that. They put themselves in a great spot. And then you basically just gave it all away by losing 5 in a row and negated all the good that they did. So it's just really frustrating. And, I feel for Patrick Waugh because, I think he's done a great job. And I think it's the guys inside the room. They have to look in the mirror and realize that they need to bring more to the table because, listen, after that 6th victory against San Jose, I'm not going to kill him for losing against LA. It was the end of a Western road trip. LA is a good team. It's fine. It is what it is. They weren't going to win every game from here on out. But then the Sabres game, disgusting effort. No excuse for that. And then the Senators game against Ottawa, I was actually at that game. And the first period they played well. They just couldn't get that lead to put them up to 2-0. And you kind of sensed that when that didn't happen, they were giving Ottawa a chance to stay in the game. Lo and behold, the Islanders did go up 2-1. Ottawa tied it, then scored a power play goal. The Islanders were lucky to get a point out of the game. Thankfully, Horvat tied the game late, which honestly, he's one of the only players showing a pulse the last couple of 5 games. But and then obviously the Ranger game, that was just an abomination. They did not play well at all. The Rangers skated circles around them. And then last night in Carolina, 3-0 into the first period, it was took all the wind out of their sails. So I don't know. I think the players in the room, this is on them. It's not on Patrick Waugh. I think they need to really sack up here, if you will, because it's just inexcusable for them to lose 5 in a row after winning 6 in a row. And I think that this core group, Mark, I was saying before we went on, they've been together for a while now. And I think it's almost to a point where, I don't know if they just go through the motions or they're a little too comfortable. And, I think if they do miss the playoffs, I think they need a little bit of a shakeup. But, I'm frustrated because they had it. They had it They had it there. Even if it's 5 games, even if they would have won 2 of those 5 games, they'd be in a playoff spot right now ahead of Detroit. But the fact that they lost all 5, it's a slap in the face of the fans. Honestly, that's how I view it. I mean, they should be putting together better efforts. I could take the fact if you lose 5 in a row, but you're grinding it out and you're losing 1-goal games. But that's not the case. I mean, they've got shut out twice. Rangers beat them 5-2. Hurricanes, even though the 4th goal was an empty netter, still wasn't as close as maybe the score seemed. And despite all this, they still have a chance tomorrow with a victory over Detroit. So that's why these guys really need to look in the mirror and be like, wow, we're still in this thing despite trying to give it away. So listen, if they beat the Red Wings tomorrow, especially if the Capitals lose tonight to Toronto, they're in a good situation. They're in a good spot again. But it comes down to getting up for the game and sending a message and winning. We'll see what Islander team shows up. Is it going to be the Islander team over the last 5 games, or is it going to be the Islander team that destroyed Boston, dismantled them, a team that beat the Dallas Stars? Which team are you going to get? And that's really the question here. And if I'm Bo Horvat, I'm telling these guys to get up to his level, because over the last 5 games, I would say him and maybe only a couple other playoffs players, Romanov, are really showing good efforts out there. And to me, when you only have 3 or 4 guys going at this time of year, it's inexcusable.
Anthony, Filk is stretching, ready to answer and reply to all this. But first, before I let you go for a second on this, answer that one at the bottom. If the Islanders miss, is Lou gone?
I think he should be, but as I said time and time again, it seems like ownership has too much respect for him because of who he is. So no, I don't see them firing him. I mean, I mentioned at the outdoor game I was there. I met John Ledecky, who was on our show, and he basically said in not so many words that he lets Lou call the shots, and he stays out of it. So that's my take. He should, but no, I don't see it happen. The only way I see Lou being gone is if he steps aside on his own. That's the only scenario where I see him leaving. I don't see it happening any other way.
I wonder if they would go to him behind the scenes and be like, hey, you know what? I think it's time, but we're going to announce this as like a mutual parting of the ways type thing.
I'd say that would be the way to do it.
That would be the only way that I could see them really firing him. And I think it would allow him to sort of quote unquote leave on his own terms, like you said, because I do agree with you on that. But I don't think that I actually would agree with Pete. I think he was pretty good last night. Otherwise, where are the forwards? Like you said, the forwards, and I've said that they need scoring depth for quite some time, but it just I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think they're too comfortable, and I think it's a whole go through the motions type thing. It's like what I was saying with the Rangers earlier. I don't think that you're getting enough from your core guys. I think Anders Lee is a terrible contract. I think they need to move on from him one way or another. He needs to be gone. I just think it's getting to a point where he's beyond one-dimensional. And if he's not productive at getting garbage goals and screens in front of the net, then what is he giving you at this point? Because if you're going to speak to me about intangibles and leadership and so on, then why is he not stepping up to the plate and getting these guys on board, like you said? Because it's not Waugh. Waugh's made the corrections to this team. And you could absolutely see it in the way that they played up until this recent stretch. It's them. It's absolutely them. The same way that I blame the players on the Rangers for their malaise in January and February. It's the same way. It eventually it has to come back on the players. When you bring in a guy like Waugh or you bring in a guy like Laviolette, it's no more boy that cried wolf nonsense. It's on the players, and this is on the Islanders. So I would go right after their leadership group. I would go right after their core guys. I'm going after Barzal. I mean, the only ones that I'm really giving a pass to right now are Romanov because I think he's playing over his head. I think he's good. I think he's playing a little better than what I expected. And Horvat. I mean, I don't even think Sorokin's been that great for them. I'm sorry. I just don't think he's really been all that good. So I think outside of those two, there's no one on the team that gets a pass from me.
Yeah, I keep making the joke. Sorry, go ahead.
They have the problem is they have four forwards that produce consistently. Barzal, Horvat, Nelson, Palmieri. They don't have any other forwards that produce consistently enough. As Phil said, Anders Lee's one dimensional at this point. Pajot is, he's still a little bit of a pest and he's good defensively, but there's no other forward that comes up big for him in big moments, and it's hard to win when you have only four forwards who are producing consistently, and that's a big issue. And on some nights they could get by, but it's not good enough. They need other guys. They need other guys to step up, and that's just not happening.
When does that fall on Lou?
Because it does fall on Lou. Yeah,
this team, that's on him, and that's why I think ownership has to take a big look at what's going on with them and say, hey, this guy has invested so much in bottom six talent when the real issue is that we don't have difference makers up top, or enough of them, I should say.
Yeah, because I know Lou favors balance. And again, all of us have a tremendous amount of respect for Lou Lamoriello, because but you also got to do where is this team going? Where's the direction on it? The joke I told the other day, guy, was the Islanders, usually people had to pay good money to be dominated in the way that the Islanders have been, especially the last two games. Look, Anthony, I would expect a bad game to come out on Thursday versus the Sabres. That's after a long road trip. You just had a one loss. Maybe you're due for a stinker, although you could argue that should have been Sundays. Wow, that Ottawa game. You got teams that could be spoilers. I understand the Ottawa Senators are one of them. Nope. That shouldn't happen with them. You got to beat the Ottawa Senators, and then you get the Rangers. You have to beat Ottawa
and Buffalo, and the Ranger game. The normal Islander. Normally, it's the Rangers that have trouble with the Islanders because the Islanders always get up for those games. And the Islanders just did not have the jump in that game. And both teams played the day before, so there's no excuse for either team.
And Phil, let me go further than that. After Horvat tied the game, the ice was like this going at Ilya Sorokin. I mean, how do you get momentum and not have any? It boggles my mind. And this is look. I'm actually going to defend a little bit and say I think this is a pretty good roster if you look at it from last year. But it falls on the players, as Anthony's saying, and eventually they're going to have to be the ones figuring it out. And the one thing you missed from a couple games is, has announcers even said Matt Barzal's name? I mean, you could say all you want about playing against the Rangers and the Islanders, but Matt Barzal's got to step up. That's what leadership is.
Well, you know what I gotta say about Barzal. I was at the Senators game, and actually it was right on 106, right by the glass. So I had a good viewpoint.
Nice.
Barzal played well that game. He was skating, he was shaking out there. He hit the post once. He got robbed by Korpisalo once. The points aren't coming like they were coming during the 6-game win streak, but Barzal is far from any sort of a problem right now. The problem is that they're still letting up a little too many high danger chances on this 5-game losing streak, and again they're not getting the goal support. I mean, look at who scored their last couple. I mean, it's been Horvat that scored their last couple of goals, assisted by Nelson. That's really how it's gone, and they're not getting enough support. And what I circle back to, and the crazy thing about all this, I'll go back to, is if they beat Detroit tomorrow, they're 1 point out, and they're right back in it again. So, but the season's on the line, though. It's time for kind of one more chance, and one more chance is over. If they lose to Detroit, at that point, it's going to be hard to make up the points. And at that Senators game, I went with Madeline and Ella and my father-in-law when Ottawa scored the winning goal in overtime. I looked over at Madeline. By the way, guys, she's 14, but I looked at her after Ottawa scored, and she had tears in her eyes. And I'm just thinking to myself in my head, I'm like, kid, I know that feeling all too well. This team has done to me the last 34 years of my life. But that's the thing. They drive you crazy, and they're Jekyll, and I think it's Steven said in the comment up there a little before. They're Jekyll and Hyde team right now. That's what they've been. That's what they've been like all year. And listen, the crazy thing is, if they miss the playoffs, it's not a case of they're like the Columbus Blue Jackets. They missed the playoffs just because they're a bad team. If you look at how many leads that they've blown, if you add up the points, they should have at least 10 to 12 more points than they do right now. They just could not hold down leads. They couldn't.
Which is why we were all on top of firing Lambert.
Yeah, and if you have leads in that many games, clearly you're a talented team. You're a good team. There's just a huge issue, whether it be mentally or I don't know, not mentally strong enough that you're blowing these leads. But that's the ultimate thing that's going to bite them, is if they just would have held on to, a couple of more points,
Mm-hmm.
here or there, they're probably solidified in a playoff spot. But
it's not like you can even say that they didn't fire Lambert too late, because Lambert, with that winning streak that he had earlier on, saved himself. And you even said it yourself. He saved his job for a while. So it's not like you can even say, oh, well, they should have fired Lambert earlier. I mean, if they didn't have that winning streak with Lambert, then yeah, I would agree with you. But it's not. It's ultimately it's on them. So it's all on them.
Yeah.
So they got to get the job done, and that's it.
I'm going to make a bold prediction, though. Good,
because I was about to go back to you for it.
If they beat Detroit tomorrow, I think they're going to get in the playoffs. I think maybe that gives them a final kick in the ass that, hey, we're still in this thing. And listen, Detroit's been, you just flashed the graphics there, but they've been abysmal. I mean, they were 14 seconds away from losing to Columbus last night, and that would have been a really, really terrible loss for them. So you can't, I'm not scared of the Red Wings. So, win tomorrow, and then, go from there. But certainly it all hinges on tomorrow night. That's for sure.
Yep. But wait, do they win tomorrow?
I mean, I don't know. It's. I would like to say yes, because I would like to think that they're gonna have that mentality of, hey, listen, guys, this is our last shot. Let's, we got to get our act together, and that they rally, they pull it together, and they get the win. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess but clearly I didn't say that with 100% confidence. But yeah, I'll say they'll get the job done tomorrow in Detroit.
Phil, quickly, do they win tomorrow?
Yes, I'm pretty confident that they will.
And I'm actually Anthony, I'm going to have more confidence in you. No Dylan Larkin, Detroit has not been the same. Absolutely not. So that's, I think that actually bodes well. Going over to Madison Square Garden, guys, we're two of the top teams in the NHL, of the top teams, not the top teams. But the Winnipeg Jets defeated the New York Rangers last night at MSG, 2 points ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes, who beat the New York Islanders, of course. And Marc Scheifele with a hat trick. The Rangers 2-2 last week, 94 points, is still in first place in the Metro. Phil, I'm going to flash the schedule in a moment, starting from the Tampa game, and also the strength of schedule. But how imperative is it for the New York Rangers to win the Metropolitan Division title? Not the Central, guys, the Metro.
I don't know. I mean, if Carolina wins it, they're going to face what, Philly or the Islanders? Whatever, which two makes it. I really don't think it's as important as people think. And I think they would I think they would beat the Islanders if they faced the Islanders in the playoffs. I just think that when it comes down to it, the Islanders' problem is that, again, they don't have enough difference makers that will really make the difference come playoff time. I think that's ultimately their downfall. I don't think either of these two teams think that winning the Metro is the be-all, end-all.
I think Carolina does.
I don't think they do. I really don't think they do, because I think Carolina is so confident in their play right now that they don't worry about who they have to face in the first round. And they're definitely not scared of Philadelphia. I'm going to tell you that right now. And they're definitely not scared of the Islanders. So if they face one of those two teams, I think that they're more than okay with that. And I think those would be short series for them.
Anthony, how important is the Metropolitan Division title?
I don't think it's important at all, because, if you're, let's say, whoever wins the division, let's just still say Florida is the top seed in the East. So you're gonna face the first wild card. So maybe you're playing Tampa Bay, and if you finish second, you're playing Philly. Likely. So I think either of those teams, Carolina, the Rangers, I think they would take care of Tampa Bay in the first round. And I also think if they finished second, they would take care of Philly, who was in third. So I don't think winning the division is really such a huge issue this year as it's been in years past, just because of the placement of some of the other teams. So no, I don't think it matters, honestly. And either way, you still have home ice. Regardless if you finish second or first, you're going to have home ice advantage in the first round. So, to me, I think it's quite meaningless. I mean, other than raising a banner next year for the division title, I don't think it has any significance.
No.
I think, and fortunately, they don't really raise the banners. What they'll do is they'll just throw it up there. And I don't think there's a ceremony at the beginning of the year. The only one they do that for is the Cup. Maybe I forgot if they did that when they won the Eastern Conference. I actually do think the Metro is somewhat important, but I'm going to address what Pete says right here. You know what? Right now, I'd not be happy playing Tampa. Tampa seems like they got a groove. They look like they might be a tough out in the first round out of all the wild card teams. We're going to discuss another one in Bar Talk, but it's just, you also got to be careful what you wish for, because take, for instance, and I was talking to somebody today, and they brought up, well, you want to make sure you get the better matchup. Well, the Rangers did that in 2017. They got the wild card, and they ended up avoiding everybody in the Metro and playing Montreal. They beat Montreal. They had Ottawa basically ready to be beaten. Ottawa beats them. And then you left there going, all right, now what? I think you want to always play your best and win. And you look at the schedule that they're going on right now. You got at Boston tomorrow night, versus Florida, then versus Philly. I also don't think Philly's just going to be a pushover. I mean, Philadelphia might be a tough series for them. I just don't think it's right to ever go, well, if we lose, we're fine. No, and also losing home ice to Carolina, that could be a big difference too. Phil, do the Rangers win the Metropolitan?
I'm going to say no, because Carolina's schedule is very easy. Like going forward, if you look at their schedule, it's kind of a cupcake. Like it's really easy going forward. The Rangers is a little tougher than theirs, but this schedule is very easy the rest of the way for Carolina. I mean, they have Philadelphia, which they should win tomorrow. They have Washington Friday. I mean, they could lose one of those two games because it's a back-to-back. Toronto's tough. Pittsburgh, I think they'll beat them. In Pittsburgh, you don't know what you're going to get from them night to night. Then Detroit on Thursday the 28th, which would help out the Islanders if Carolina beat them. And then they have Montreal. Boston, they're a good team. They have Boston twice, but you have Washington twice in this last stretch. You have Columbus twice in this last stretch. And you have Chicago. Like, they have quite a few teams that are not going to be playoff teams in this schedule. So I'm gonna go with Carolina winning the division because I just think that their strength of schedule is just weak.
Phil, I'm happy that I realized you were talking about Carolina in that because I was starting to look at my schedule going, no, the Rangers got Boston tomorrow. What the hell?
No.
Anthony, the Rangers, who wins the Metro? Them or Carolina?
I'm gonna go with the Rangers. I think they hold on and they win the division. The Canes are playing well. Their schedule isn't as hard as the Rangers, but something tells me the Rangers are going to finish strong and win the Metropolitan and get the Lightning in the first round. Because at this point, I don't see either the Red Wings, the Islanders, or the Capitals like bumping Tampa Bay out of wild card one. So I think the Rangers are going to win the division, and I think they're going to fake the Lightning round one.
Wow, that's going to be a tall task getting a guy with 112 points on the season. Even though I say they're kind of empty, but whatever. That's still a lot of points. Guys, we're going to take a quick message from DraftKings and do some bar talk. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame moneyline on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. Welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. We're gauging our confidence on these NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you so confident that you're buying everybody around? So, I'll have a beer, or, oh, God, I'll take a shot. And, of course, play along down in the comments below. And I didn't hock it earlier, but make sure you get one of your Big Apple Hockey trucker hats or T-shirts. Phil, we're going to start with the New York Rangers. Hey, you know what? A clean A block for me. I know. I was going to text that to the guys just now. It's good that I double-checked everything and triple-checked. Phil, we're going to start with the New York Rangers. Mika Zibanejad, 22 goals, 36 assists this season. He's on his lowest pace since his second year with the New York Rangers. The Rangers need Mika Zibanejad to reach 30 goals.
I mean, I would say beer just because I don't think it really matters. I mean, really what matters is playoffs. But you want him playing well entering the playoffs. So him reaching 30 goals would help in that regard. I just don't see it happening because he needs 8 goals in another, I think they have, 13 games left?
13 games, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see that happening. I just don't. I think it's too much. I think this is the most important part here is that his 5-on-5 play gets better because it just has not been good overall. I don't know what the issue is with him. I don't know if it's the fact that he had a kid this year. I don't know what the issue is, whether he's hurt, but he needs to be far better at 5-on-5. Yes, helping, scoring a bunch of goals going into the playoffs would help, but the most important thing is 5-on-5 play because if he continues to play like this, the team's going nowhere.
Yeah. Anthony, I was going to go to you first, but I'm going to buy around on this. I think he has to play better. And I think sometimes mentally speaking, you get to a number. And I know I skipped this one by Anthony in the A block. Alexei Lafreniere got his 20th goal of the season. So he didn't have to snicker about that. Alexa, stop listening. And it's so that way, I mean, once you get like certain times to like some barriers, you're able to like break the glass ceiling, if you will. So I think that he does need to get rolling, get goal scoring. But yes, 5-on-5 play, which has been better, needs to get even better than that. Anthony, what do you think?
I mean, you used the word need here. So, I mean, I'm going to go shot. I mean, I'm surprised he went round. I mean, what happens if he doesn't? Rangers are making the playoffs. They're going to win.
He's a notorious slow starter in the playoffs.
What I'm saying is, even if he doesn't, they're still going to make the playoffs. Very well, still may win the division. So whether or not he scores 30 goals, it really has very little impact on the range. I mean, yeah, sure, it would be the aspect of then you could say he's hot going into the playoffs, and that would help. But I mean, I honestly don't think it matters if he scores 30 or not. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's go to another guy that is for a New York team that is underperforming right now. Pierre Engvall was a healthy scratch last night after signing that big extension last year, Anthony. Pierre Engvall will not live up to his contract.
I mean, layup. This is a round. I mean, look, Pierre Engvall is not a bad player. I mean, he's a good depth piece. He has speed. He has some, he has a little bit of a scoring touch, but there was no need to give a guy like him a 7-year contract. There's zero. Like I understand the whole thing of more term brings the AAV down. I get that, but no need to give him 7 years. I don't. It's fine. I'm not even mad that Luke kept him. I mean, he was good down the stretch last year, but I mean, about like 3 years, maybe 4 years. Like, there was just no need to go. There was no need to go 7 years on Engvall. And again, if it was a matter of keeping the AAV down, if he didn't like a 4-year deal and wanted more money, then okay, well, too bad. Move on. They could have found somebody else like him. So, I thought that was a poor decision by Lou with the 7 years. And so no, I don't think he's going to live that contract.
Phil, what do you think?
What do you think I'm thinking?
I think you're thinking hit the button. That's what you're thinking.
Pretty much. I mean, it's literally the Goodrow version or the Islanders version of the Goodrow contract. I don't know why they did that, and they did it with Mayfield too, which I don't understand. Like, for years, the problem with this team was that they kept giving out big contracts to depth players. They get beaten by Carolina pretty handily. And then what do? They go give out 2 more big contracts to 2 depth players.
Yeah.
When will they learn? It's not even they. Like, it's when will Lou learn? Like, I don't understand what he's thinking. And I get wanting to bring those guys back. But, like, you have to be able to draft those types of guys. Those types of guys are easy to draft. They're like, you can get them in almost any round. I mean, the Rangers got Edstrom and Rempe out of late round picks. That's what you should be doing. And the Rangers are finally starting to correct that mistake of signing guys like Goodrow as opposed to drafting them.
Yeah.
So, Berard, that's another one that's going to come up. They just signed Yaroslav Milosh to a deal, a 3-year deal, an entry-level deal. And, I mean, even though he's not a big-time scorer at Providence, he's viewed as a potential, bottom 6 piece. The Islanders need to start doing that and getting those guys in. And they have guys that can come up. I mean, McLean has actually been decent for them. I mean, he's not a great player, but he's actually played well. Hudson Fasching, they got him out of nowhere, and then he ended up playing well for them. So I don't understand why they're not giving these guys the chance instead of going out and giving 7-year deals to guys like Mayfield and Engvall. What are you doing there? Just terrible.
Well, I'm going to make this a hat trick. And part of it has to do, guys, with he's just miscast. He's not a second-line guy. Don't make him a second-line guy. Make him a third-line guy, not a first-line guy. I mean, I almost went the other direction. But That's what they should be doing. He should be a bottom six forward. And then you know what? Then maybe you're looking at a guy that's worth that contract. But even at 6 years, all of us bristled at that. We praised the Sorokin contract and went, ooh, when they announced the other ones.
Ugh.
Yeah. But also, let's look at the Eastern Conference wildcard standings. You got Tampa Bay with 80 points, Detroit 76, Washington 75, the Isles 73, and Buffalo 71. So let's look at two of those teams right there. Capitals, Spencer Carberry has got them basically knocking on the door of the playoffs. He is a Jack Adams finalist. Mr. Fokalski, what do you think?
Shot.
Okay.
I don't see how he is a Jack Adams finalist just because they're close to a playoff spot. I don't. This is a shot layup. Like I don't understand what the thought process is here. Like, really? Like, looking at the standings right now, so we're the Capitals are 1 point out of a playoff spot for wild card 2, but so they make wild card 2. What are they out in 5? Maybe not even 5, maybe 4 they're out in. I mean, if you want to give somebody a Jack Adams finalist award, I mean, I would go with Tortorella.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
I mean, what he's doing with Philadelphia is insane. He's got to be the favorite. And then you got to look at Paul Maurice in Florida, what they're doing. I mean, even Montgomery in Boston right now has them at 97 points. And then, I mean, you want to take a look at another team. Tampa Bay's been decimated by the salary cap. And then they lose Sergachev, and John Cooper still has them in a playoff spot, and they're actually playing better right now. And then you want to talk about Winnipeg. Nobody expected Winnipeg to be a powerhouse. And they're one of the best teams in the league right now. Vancouver, Rick Tocchet. I mean, there are so many other guys that even Nashville, John Hines. They're in a playoff spot, and they look like they have a terrible roster to start the season.
Phil, John Hines is in Minnesota, you mean?
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In Nashville, Nashville's
Brunette,
right?
Yeah, Andrew Brunette.
Yeah, Brunette.
Sorry.
Well, we knew you'd get it. We just didn't want you to have to go too long.
Brunette. So, yeah, it's Brunette in Nashville. I mean, it's crazy that they have so many other teams out there that you could put before, or coaches out there before Spencer Carberry.
Anthony, what do you think?
Spelled wrong too, actually.
It is wrong?
I'm pretty sure it is wrong.
Okay, I'll fix that.
It's 1 R, not 2 R's.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a shot for me. I mean, the Capitals don't let them fool you. I mean, they're one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. Yeah, they playing well of late, but they're not making the playoffs. I don't see it happening. And listen, he's done a good job, but there's just so many other guys you could put ahead of him, as Phil said. I mean, Rick Tocchet, Bonus, Tortorella, Montgomery, Maurice, Brunette, Laviolette. So the list goes on. There's a lot of other coaches that I would put ahead of him, with not even thinking twice about it.
His starting goaltenders, guys, are Charlie Lindgren, and I forget who I don't even think it's Darcy Kemper who's starting the majority of games over there. They're a minus 27 in goal differential. I mean, it's a really good job. I am going to go with you guys and go with a shot on this one because there's so many teams that have done great jobs with their coaching. Tortorella is the one that comes to mind always right away for me because what has he got in Philadelphia? And he just scratched his captain last night. How the hell is
crazy?
Yeah, how do you do that? And a healthy scratched him too. Although I know Philk is kind of waiting for the day when you hear that for Jacob Trouba. So, but guys, let's go back to another one of the teams that's in wild card contention. And do you know has the most wins in the NHL since the All-Star break?
Nashville.
Well, no, I meant goaltenders. I meant to say, sorry.
Goaltenders.
All right, it's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. So
UPL.
since UPL ever since the 5th of February, 11-6-1, 925 save percentage, and a 2.10 goals against. Anthony, UPL has proven that he's a franchise goalie for the Sabres.
Mark, I mean, this is, don't get me wrong, UPL has a higher pedigree than the guy that I'm about to throw out there as an example, the Hamburglar, Andrew Hammond, a few years ago with Ottawa. But
I remember that 2015.
It's a shot. UPL's not, he's not bad. He's young, but I mean, just because he's played well over the last little stretch here does not mean that he's proven he's a franchise goalie for Buffalo. I mean, give me a break. I mean, I think Devin Levi is still their goaltender of the future. UPL's taken the reins. He's played well, but I mean, it's way too small of a sample size to say that he's proven he's a franchise goalie. I mean, like I just said, Andrew Hammond. You remember Jim Carrey all those years ago for the Capitals. Let's pump the brakes there. Let's see him, come back next year as, let's say, a number one and do it over a longer period of time. So, this is a shot here for me.
All right, Phil,
get the damn hoop.
Well, it's up over here. It's hanging up. But
seriously, get the hoop. Like, what is this? Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has proven that he's a franchise goalie over a 12-game stretch. Or what was it, a 15-game stretch?
I went with it's like a 15-game stretch, 17-game stretch. Sorry, 18.
Yeah, so 16 games. Okay, great. That's cool. Congrats. He proved himself, like Jim Carrey proved himself.
Jim Carrey won a Vezina.
Yeah, and then what happened the year after that?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. He's more of a flash in the pan than a franchise goalie.
Yeah, Jim Carrey got Calder votes. And then he won the Vezina in his second year. And then what happened? Goodbye. Yeah. He was out of the league in like 3 years after that. So let's pump the brakes on this. And it just,
Well, I'm giving it a provisional beer on this one, guys, because after all, the Buffalo Sabres had another goaltender that just won a Vezina too in Linus Ullmark. So maybe they need to look at it and say, I still think it's going to be Devin Levi. That's who I have my money on. But, maybe they got something with UPL. Look, his numbers have been really good. Can't argue with that. But I understand it's a short sample. We're going for the last month. But Buffalo, look, if this keeps up, yeah. All right. All right. Guys, look, going over. They're going to bring back Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco. Guys, let's look over to the Nashville Predators, who have been the hottest team in the NHL with the 13-0-2 record since a 9-2 loss to Dallas last month. Haven't lost the regulation. Nashville will be the toughest wild card to knock out in the playoffs. Guys, I'm going to start this one. I'm going to say, I think they're going nowhere. Now, the thing is, Vancouver probably is going to avoid them. Maybe that Central Division. I think they actually are leapfrogging right now. They might get the number one seed. If Nashville gets Vancouver, look out. They might actually make that upset. I'm going to go right now and say that. Bilk?
I'm going to say shot. It's not a layup because there's a chance that Las Vegas ends up being a wild card team, and I don't think anybody wants to face Las Vegas. So I think Tampa would also be a tougher out than Nashville. I'd much rather face Nashville than Tampa, even with Saros and net. Tampa has the guys that know how to get it done. Their core guys have all been there before, and their core guys have upset teams. So I definitely don't think Nashville is the toughest.
Anthony?
Yeah, this is a shot just because Vegas is in a wild card spot right now, and I think come playoff time when they get Marc Stone back and they're fully healthy, they would for sure be the hardest wild card team to knock out of a playoff spot. But what would be good for real good theater here, guys, is that Vegas right now is 3 points up on Minnesota for the last wild card spot. Minnesota plays tonight against LA. If Minnesota wins tonight, they'd only be 1 point behind Vegas for that last playoff spot, and that would be quite ridiculous after everything that Vegas did at the trade deadline, trading for Tomas Hertl, and if them getting knocked out of the playoffs by the Wild and not even making it, that would be that would be poetic to a lot of fans who really hate the antics that they do with the LTIR. But it's crazy to even think that Vegas it doesn't have a playoff spot solidified. So they're certainly rooting for LA tonight to beat Minnesota, give them some more breathing room.
Yeah, that would be funny. That would be real funny.
Yeah, that everybody would love to see the poetic justice if it came back on Vegas and they ended up not making the playoffs again. All right.
But anyway, I gotta go pick up Ella, boys. So I'm out.
Anthony, take it easy.
I'll talk to you guys. Fun as always. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys.
And a minor gaffe for me today with Spencer Carberry. So
yeah, very minor gaffe. Yeah. We'll give you that little golf clap there, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Well, Phil, let's go to the Pacific Division. And one team that might have righted the ship is the LA Kings, 6-3-1 in their last 10, third of the Pacific. But you know what? They haven't had much success in the playoffs the last few years. This is a little bit of a beer proof one. Over 2.5 wins for the Kings in the playoffs.
How is it beer proof?
Well, you can't. Beer would be in the middle. Beer would be right there. What if I said 2 wins? Would that make it beer?
I don't think that. I don't know how that applies.
Well, it's either over or under.
So, all right. So this is not really any bar talk. This is just over and under then.
Yeah. Well, you can always under. You buy around or take the shot.
I'm not doing either of those because there's no real option for that. It's an over and under. So there's no. I'm just going to go.
Okay, it's over. It's over under. Which one do you think it is going to be?
I'm going to go under. Something about this team just doesn't seem right. I don't trust their goaltending, and they decimated a lot of their depth with that Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. Like I think if they have buyer's remorse about that deal, and I think they would absolutely do that over if they had to. Yeah, you're gonna get a gaff for that one. You're gonna lose points because you guys have no segment by that one. So, Victor Arvidsson doesn't really do anything for me. I'm sorry, just doesn't. Sorry, State of Survival really doesn't do anything. And you gave up Iafallo. Kupari, I think, was in that deal too.
Kupari, yeah.
And then, obviously Velarde, who was almost a point per game before his injury. And honestly, I think this team just would play so much better if they had those guys. They'd have a deeper team up and down. And I don't think Dubois is the guy. I don't think he is. It just, how many times do you get a chance to go somewhere and, what's next? Montreal? Oh, I'm going to force my way to Montreal now.
Once he gets there, what next?
Yeah, what's next at that point? You're finally happy because you're in a French-speaking area? I mean, I don't understand it. So this guy, to me, he's not a needle mover anymore. I just don't see it. I'm going to go under with them, especially considering. So let's see where their playoff hopes right now are as a 3rd seed in the Pacific. And they would face Edmonton if it ended right now. I think Edmonton
5 games.
I go 5 games for that. I think Edmonton would destroy them because I don't think they have an answer anymore for McDavid and Draisaitl. And then they went out, and then Edmonton went out and got Henrique, and now they've got a better coach. I'm definitely taking the under here.
I don't see a team that really that they challenge in the playoffs. I just don't. And by the way, conversely to what I usually say, Cam Talbot seems to have fixed himself. He's been playing really well as of late. So you know what? They got the new coach bump, but no, they're no match for any of the teams they're going to face in the playoffs.
I don't trust it.
And that's just it with that. And Phil, there's a rule change coming in for next season that the puck goes over the glass. That penalty can be challenged, but if it's wrong, it becomes a 5-on-3. The puck over glass review is going to be a monumental change.
Get the GIF. It's a layup. Okay. It's just a round.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you're completely changing the game because if you get that wrong, that's it. I mean, you're putting yourself in a real bad position. But, if you're absolutely sure of it, and you're probably not going to see too many of these, I think, because teams are going to be afraid to.
Mhm.
And they're only going to do it when they know that they can actually see, like, that it's deflected off of somebody or that it hit the glass. So,
I agree with that 100%, by the way, Phil. And I'm actually going to go around on it as well, because that's what instant replay is supposed to be. You better have conclusive proof that whatever happened happened. And if there's like the chance, maybe a glance off the glass, they might be like, all right, maybe we shouldn't do that. Take your medicine and that's it. I mean, I understand that people would say, well, you should challenge to see if the puck went over the glass, but you're just trying to correct the calls right now. That's all you're trying to do. And that's the purpose of what instant replay is, to get rid of erroneous calls. So that is it for Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, guys. I thought I didn't have as much layups in this, but apparently I had a ton of them. So let's get to your comments, because you guys will probably have some better ones.
better than Marc's layups.
Better than my layups. We'll take your questions. All right. By the way, David is saying, I think replays should be lost timeout for the first one if it's wrong, and a delay game if others are wrong. You know what? But you had coaches that first year, they lost the timeout. They didn't care. There were guys that would just do that. Romanel is saying, once again, making replay a joke is it's there to get the right calls, or a gong show, not to be abused. Not to be abused. Yeah. So, Leo's asking, how do you pronounce that?
Milosh. Yeah, Yaroslav Milosh.
Milosh?
He's a bottom six guy more than likely, but he's another one that has a lot of size and speed, and there is some skill there. So, I mean, a lot of, including myself, a lot of people viewed Edstrom and Rempe as long shots to make the NHL. And then these guys ended up having just huge developmental spikes in Hartford. And it's a credit to what's going on there, because Brett Berard looks like he could maybe even be a top six forward one day with the way that he's playing down there. Not that I think that he's going to be that, but his development has taken an unexpected spike. I know, yeah, David, I get it. The points are not great, but if you actually watch the guy, he is pretty productive. I mean, I haven't watched a ton of him this year, and he's been hurt. But last year, when I was watching, like, for Berard, Milosh was notable on the ice. Very, very noticeable on the ice. So I think he'll be a very good player one day. I do think that he'll be a guy that you could slot somewhere in that bottom six, because he's got good touch around the net in addition to his size and speed. He plays a very physical game too. So I definitely think that he's a player that can end up being a good contributor going forward for this team. The Rangers have done what I was talking about before with drafting and developing the bottom six guys. And they've done a very good job of it. You got to give credit to Chris Drury and the scouting staff there, because I think that they've hit on a lot of these guys, and a lot of these guys can save them quite a bit against the cap going forward. So,
Sean Harold is asking, do you guys think the Rangers can go deep? I feel like they don't play well against the top teams in the league. Phil, this is one of the questions I wanted to pose to you. Yeah, I wanted to pose this question to you in the A block. And because I think your natural thing is, they don't play well against top teams in the league. They beat Boston already in overtime.
1-1 against Vancouver, 1-1 against Winnipeg. I mean,
1-1 against Dallas.
1-1 against Dallas. They've beaten the Islanders. They've beaten. Let's see, they've beaten Boston twice. They're 2-0 against Boston, and they beat Boston at a time where Boston were considered one of the beasts of the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't. I can't agree with this. I'm sorry. I feel like the issue is, and yeah, shut out Carolina. So they've beaten Carolina twice, and they've let up 2 goals in those games. I'm sorry, 1 goal.
One goal.
Yeah, 1 goal in those 2 games.
Yeah. So I do think I do think it's a New York and by the way, it's such a Rangers thing
I
to have
think
that.
this is the issue.
The Rangers need to be better against teams who clog up the neutral zone. They struggle to move the puck up and down the ice. So they struggled to generate sustained pressure in the ozone. I think we talked about this last night, and I do have to say, when you get teams that clog up the middle, like the way Winnipeg does last night, the Rangers do have a tendency to get careless with the puck. You saw this with Keandre Miller.
Chris Kreider should have been benched last night. I'm sorry.
That was a bad Chris Kreider play. That's bad on Kreider. It's bad on Zibanejad for not getting any pressure. Because when you really look at what last night really was, it was a tough a goal that squeaked through Shesterkin. Each team got a power play goal, and then that turnover that led to the essential game winner. So it's not so much that the Rangers, they just didn't get the breaks that night. So I mean, Shesterkin makes one extra save. Choose one, Jarvis or Lafreniere.
I'm going Laffy. I'm going Homer. I just think there's a higher ceiling with Lafreniere, and I think he's finally starting to realize it. Jarvis has been decent, but he's also been so like insulated with top 6 minutes and good players his entire career so far, and I'm not sure how much higher that ceiling is. I'm going Lafreniere there.
And I do have to say, he had a coach that knew what he was doing with him. So
yeah.
The Rangers didn't have any plans from the executives. So how far can the Rangers go? You know what? The Rangers can go all the way. I think they proved it in the last couple of weeks. I mean, you got Carolina playing out of their minds.
Scott says that they should get rid of that the team that's killing a penalty should get called for icing. No, that's insane.
Yeah, Scotty, I got to disagree with you on that one. I think it's going to be that'll stay there forever. I mean, you might go back to maybe the other way. Definitely not where they can't ice the penalty. That's like the one advantage of it. I was about to say I think the 1930s, the icing was permitted, and then they finally got out of there.
Noah Laba, Colorado College. Yeah, he's having a monster year for Colorado College. He's playing very well. So I like the little I've watched, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've watched a ton of him, but I've watched a little, and he looks great. He looks really good. I do think that he's another piece that could come along, and he could be maybe a middle 6 piece one day. Like that's another real good find by the Rangers. I wonder if the ceiling is any higher than that, but he's got size. He's got a lot of skill. He's a point per game for Colorado College right now. I like what he's done this year. Let's see him though take that into next year. But I do think that if he continues on this track, he could end up being a very good middle 6 player for them.
So Phil, there was the kid that's in the OHL. I'm trying to remember what the hell his name is. That he's playing really well is one of the Rangers prospects.
Bryce McConnell Barker.
Maybe that was it. Trying to remember. Yeah, I had the video I watched about him the other day. Like he looks like he might be another good find. But again, you got to take that junior game, translate it to the pros. Some guys didn't do that for a while, and some of them it took a hell of a lot more time. Mr. Hyde is saying Rampy should work on deflections in front because his net front's presence will win a series for them. Could. I mean, hell, I forgot this guy.
I don't know if he necessarily wins a series for them, but I mean, Rempe has done a lot for his development, and this is somebody that when he was playing in Seattle, I didn't think he was going to make the NHL, and he's already been a nice contributor for them. So this is pretty good. I mean, for them.
Trying to find that name real quick for you.
Going through.
Dylan Rubeck.
Oh, Rubeck. Yeah, I'm not sure about him. I don't. You know what? That's one prospect that I don't know a ton about. I haven't been keeping track of him, so I don't want to talk a ton about him. I know that there's some size there. I know that they're happy with him and his development, but I haven't watched enough to really give a real strong scouting report on. So,
All right. And shop beer around from Romanello. Perot and Ottman will be more productive for the Rangers than Kakko and Lafreniere over their careers. I'm actually gonna go shot, and it's not that I don't think either one are going to be good players. I just don't think the book is written on Lafreniere and Kakko yet. And one of those guys, if they continue on their trends, then I think they're going to be really productive. The difference is the other two guys are going to be using they're going to have a plan for the other guys. There was no plan for these guys. I will go and die on that hill.
I'm gonna go beer just because I do think that Perot is going to be a stud at the NHL level. I think he can end up being the best one of all of them. And that's nothing against Lafreniere, who I still think can turn into a point per game player or better. I still have hope for him to turn into that player, and I think he will. Because I think he's on the right path right now. And I think that now the confidence is there. And I was watching the tape room segment from NHL Network the other day with Corey Schneider and Brian Boyle on Lafreniere. And they were just talking about how basically breaking down his tape and showing understanding of plays and where to go and what to do and how the play works and just the progressions of it. And they were showing differences between what Lafreniere was doing last year and in previous years as opposed to this year. And sometimes it's a little plays like Lafreniere is now able to make that play where he can speed up into the zone and then slow down, get to a point, and he can hold on to that puck and wait to make that play instead of turning it over or firing a high danger pass that he doesn't need to fire for whatever reason. And I think that's a big difference. Not only that, but I also think that he's going to come back stronger and faster next season as well. I think he finally understands what it needs to do in the offseason in addition to what he needs to do on the ice. And I think that's when everything comes together for a player. I think you're going to see a big year from him next year.
And I think you're going to see a better year out of Kakko. There's a little bit of luck that went against him. He's going to come back with a better contract. He's starting to understand, look, this is his role. He's going to be the third line guy. There's nothing available ahead of you. It is what it is, kid. You want to stay here. I think a lot of hype is on the fact that he was picked second overall. And again, one of the guys I compared him to was Valeri Nichushkin. And he can just work on his defensive game and just get better that way, and that'll help. And by the way,
I think this is a big part of it. I think Laviolette has really kind of just given him the ability to go out there and do his thing. And I think Matt is right about Kakko. I think he needs to be faster. I think he also needs to add a little more strength, Kakko. The one thing that I see with Kakko is that when he's going and he's really moving, it's almost impossible for him to get the puck taken away from him.
Yes.
When he slows down and when he's at a standstill, if you get body position on him, that's it with him. And that's where I think he needs to add that tiny little bit of extra muscle. And I think that's where that'll come in and help him.
But this is where I do think I'm going to also go to another comment before you click on the next one too, Phil, which is that Laviolette's ability to put faith in him. As soon as the goalie leaves the ice, Lafreniere is the extra attacker. And he knows it. There's a role for him right there. And that's where things can really work out. And Justin Moria, I hope I didn't mispronounce your name. Moriera, damn it. I was thinking of the Lord of the Rings.
Last name.
The land of the dwarves. Moriera. Actually, that's Moria. But so in any event, yeah, he's right. Lavi is the best coach they've had. I'll argue since Tortorella. I think he's even better than Vigneault. And Vigneault probably got robbed from for Coach of the Year. NYR for Life is saying, also hearing that the New York Rangers are reportedly interested in college free agent Colin Groff of Quinnipiac.
Yeah, he's been really good for Quinnipiac since transferring from Union. He was one of the top scorers of the NCAA last year. He's not as high up this year. He's missed some time, but in 31 games, he has 22 goals and 48 points this year. After a 21 goal, 59 point season in 41 games last year. That he's good. He's good. I wonder if Leo's right about this with him not signing here just because of how clogged the system is. But I think with this team, I don't necessarily agree that it's clogged, but I do wonder about the next level, like him getting to the NHL level. It may not be as clear here because I think that this team has middle six guys that they can insert. And I think that might be a hindrance to Graf's path to the NHL. If he's looking for a more of an assured shot at the NHL level and just kind of a chance to go out there and do something, he may want to go with a team that's kind of a bottom feeder and just get into the NHL, sign there for maybe a couple years. But I will say this, the Rangers are very good at luring in college free agents. They are very good at it. So I would expect them to be, and not only that, but Quinnipiac is right in Chris Drury's personal backyard. I'd imagine that Drury himself may have been at some games and has more than likely sent scouts to watch this kid play.
Rob just posted something about Shohei Ohtani, a possible lifetime ban. I did not see anything about that. What? I was looking on. I'll look it up right now. There's something where he fired his interpreter, so that would have been a little bit of big news. But back to hockey, though, and
that's insane.
As James did put up there, what about Florida? Florida is one of the best teams in the league, and everybody knows it, and you can't help it but realize that. Everest is saying, "Are you guys sick of Kreider's lazy play yet?" And Firestorm is saying that Loft deserves PP1.
Yeah, I'm sick of the lazy play, and I think it's time to really send a message to this guy. I really do think that enough is enough. And part of the reason why the power play is not as productive is because Kreider just doesn't want to be in front of the goaltender screening him. You know, one of the last power play goals this team scored was because he was in front creating a screen.
Yeah,
simple. You got it. And then the goal they scored last night on the power play, screen, rebound, goal. And they, for whatever reason, he wants to stay away from that. So honestly, Kreider needs to be off power play 1, and Lafreniere needs to be on there because Lafreniere can give them so much more on that unit.
Yeah, I'm not ready to take him off power play 1, and I love the way Vinny Trocheck has played. And your one-time option is Mika, so I think you're kind of just stuck with what PP1 is. But I do understand. Look, I am the vice president of the Chris Kreider fan club because I'm not good enough to be the president. But it's one of those things that I could see it that when that play against Winnipeg, he was just careless. That led to the Scheifele breakaway. You can't do that. So, going on to one of the next one. Leo is also asking, am I the only one that feels that Kakko is shifting towards left wing? A ton of snipe shots from the B circle left one. Would be crazy if they try him at left wing for a game and have Kreider as the third left wing. I think I think their lines are set, Phil. I don't think
No,
there's going to be much
I don't
change.
think they would do this, and I don't know where you're getting the shots coming from.
I think it's because he's
coming off
kind of
the
started
right
sniping that stick side.
It's the right circle is where he seems. I mean, he's had a couple of goals recently coming off the right side with the left hand shot.
Yeah, definitely with the one against the Islanders. He came off the wall. There was 4 Islanders around him, and look, I'll credit him that it was a good goal, but also I got both things can be true. Ilya Sorokin should have had that. So,
I don't know. I mean, I think it was a pretty good shot. Then again, like if that's the Rangers, we are absolutely lambasting the defense for letting that happen.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, RIP to Chris Simon, former Ranger, former Islander. I mean, got to know Ryan Holweg up close and personal, unfortunately. But sad story about that, and they're not.
Yeah, not only that, but former Pittsburgh Penguin Konstantin Koltsov passed away as well.
Yeah,
who was at one point one of Pittsburgh's top prospects in the early 2000s. I remember, watching him and thinking, I was like, wow, like this kid could be something one day, a decent player, not maybe not a superstar, but a decent player. And not only that, but like I just remember playing the NHL games as well, like NHL 03 and 04, and he had a pretty high potential rating in a lot of those games. So, but
this is the comment that I saw too, Phil. I don't think Rampy could handle center. But I do think
I don't know why we need Rampy at center.
I think a lot of people in the comments were saying Rampy for center, but you know what? I'm sorry. There's no way he's good enough to be a skater at center.
That is skating. All right, so if you want to get one of the two big guys, it's Edstrom. Edstrom has the ability to cover that ground at center, and his skating is incredible. I think he's a great skater. So I definitely think that he's not. Rempe is not the answer, but Edstrom could definitely be a 4th line center for this team.
Edstrom's a different story, and he's a much. If you had to choose to me between Edstrom and Rampy, I understand Rampy's got all the headlines right now, but no, it would be Edstrom.
Gabe Perreault, Gabe Perreault not being named as a Hobie Baker finalist is a complete sham. So
yeah,
sorry, but it is.
Which, by the way, there was an article because I'm gonna save it for the off season when we rank the best Americans of all time, because Mike Modano had his statue that was up this week. I encountered an article this week, and I couldn't help but go, look, with all due respect, like the writer was just trying to get a rise out of people. They ranked Modano, Kane, I think I forgot Chelios, but the number 4 was Cammy Granato. I have all the world of respect for Cammy Granato, but not you didn't put Brian Leach 4? Come on.
Brian Leach should have been top 5. I mean, I don't understand how, and I get it, Cammy Granato, what she's done for women's hockey and everything like that, but you can't tell me that she's a better player in her profession than Brian Leach was in his. Sorry.
You're talking about the first American player to win the Conn Smythe. Sorry,
you're talking about the first and only American defenseman to break the 100-point mark. He's one of 6 defensemen to do it.
And while we're at it, the only American defenseman to win the Conn Smythe. It just it does not happen.
And he led the playoffs in scoring that year.
There have been more American goaltenders to win the Conn Smythe than American defensemen.
So we haven't had a defenseman lead the NHL in postseason scoring since Leach.
Which is insane because Cale Makar, obviously. I mean, that year, a couple of years ago, he was outstanding. Firestorm is saying a comment here. I honestly think Cooley will be top 6 eventually. He's going to be one of the most important pieces as the team coalesces around the youngsters. I like Cooley's game. He's got work to do though.
Yeah. I know that a lot of people are looking at him and they look at Tom Wilson and they see similarities because they're both big, they're powerful, they play that same type of game. Cooley's good defensively too. That's the biggest thing for me. Will Cooley is a lot better defensively than I ever expected him to be at this age. And Brian Boyle was saying it last night too. His defensive game and his smarts are beyond his years. So I don't know if Cooley will be a top 6 forward, but he is definitely a middle 6 piece going forward for sure.
2 questions that's going to pertain to the D lineup. I'm going to give you the lead in and the general question right here. David Wood is saying, when everyone comes back in the lineup, does Jones stay in the lineup? And Ranger Central is, of course, saying, by the way, hey, Cor, that when the Rangers are fully healthy again, what do you want the D pairs to look like?
I would hope Jones stays in, but I don't think he will. I think Gustafsson should be gone at the end of this year, and Jones should be that bottom pairing puck mover. And I know it's a very small sample size, but Jones has played very well. And it's not just the fact that he's playing well. It's the fact that I think that he gives them the element that they want, that Laviolette wants, I should say, for his system.
Mm-hmm.
In order to play that system, you have to have good transitional hockey and guys that can move the puck out, whether it's by passing or by skating it out. And Zach Jones can do both at a very high level. He can do both all right, I shouldn't say very high level, but he can do so at a well above NHL average level. He's pretty good at it. So for me, move Gustafsson. Because I don't think there's a big difference between him and Gustafsson in terms of defensive play. I really don't. Gustafsson played well defensively earlier on, and then his game completely fell off defensively as the season has gone along. And now you see why this guy goes from team to team to team.
Mm-hmm.
Because his defensive play simply isn't good enough. And if he's not giving you points, which he hasn't given you a ton of since November, he's not really a big contributor. So go with Jones going forward. I think there is a chance that they will do that next season, but I don't think Jones will be on the roster once both Trouba and Lindgren get back. And it sucks, and I do feel bad for him, but I think that's just the reality of it.
I've said before that I didn't think he was an NHL defenseman. He has made great strides.
Yes.
He doesn't look like he's getting overpowered out there. I'll tell you that he's starting to actually learn the defensive game the right way. If that's the case for him, Phil, I agree with you everything about Gustafsson, and I think Jones might be able to slot himself in there. However, as of right now, this is what I've said on Twitter, that the or X, whatever the hell they call it now, is I would do this. Keep the Fox Lindgren. I would also keep the Schneider Miller.
Schneider Miller has to stay together.
It has to stay together.
It's Trouba on being unable to skate is really what holds Miller down. I think Miller's been much better without Trouba.
And pairing him with and putting Trouba as a third unit defenseman,
I think benefits him.
And also it benefits the Rangers. One of the biggest acquisitions the Rangers had over the last 15 years. It wasn't Rick Nash. It wasn't Artemi Panarin. It was Kevin Kline. Once they got Kevin Kline, they were able to roll out Girardi McDonough, Stahl and Strawman, and then Kevin Kline went out with either John Moore or I think at one point it was Rafael Diaz. And then in the last year it was the 2015 season. It ended up being Keith Yandel at the end. But you were able to roll 3D, and that's what Vegas is trying to do. That's what all these teams are trying to do, and that's why I think you have to, as much as it's a bruise to Jacob Trouba's ego, you got to move him down.
John Moore was not a center. You're talking about Dominic Moore.
Yeah. Dominic Moore.
Yeah. John Moore was the defenseman that they got in the Gaborik trade with Columbus. They got back Gaborik. Gaborik went to Columbus for John Moore, Derek Brassard, and Derek Dorsett.
There you go. And then Dorsett ended up being on that fourth line.
Yeah.
I think Gallant's held the Rangers back for definitely last year, not the year before. I think he's able to get through with a lesser talented roster. Guys, right now we're at 7:04. We're actually going to cut it off in about 6 minutes. If that's all right by you, Phil, or if you want to get off earlier.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah. Firestorm was saying I gave the Hobie Baker thing about the same as I ranked Norris, which is to say that it's valuable as soggy bread in its authenticity. Carlson, ? Please. I agree with you on that. Look, the Norris Trophy needs to be for the best overall defenseman, and they need to make 2 categories. You need to make the Bobby Orr Trophy for the highest scoring defenseman, and then Rod Langway Trophy for the best defensive defenseman. That way you could take those. One guy could win one of those, like Erik Karlsson, because sorry, you're not the best defenseman on the second worst team in the league. I'm sorry. There's no way.
Not only that, but he's a minus guy despite scoring 100 points. What does that tell you?
This one's in your wheelhouse. Are you worried about the Fanatics jerseys next year? I really hope these things don't turn out to be hot garbage like the MLB unis.
Yeah, I'm very worried.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, John Mitchell was the fourth liner, and John Mitchell was actually good for the Rangers when he was there. Not only that, but he actually had very good hands. He was a good shootout guy for them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Karlsson is a forward pretending to be a defenseman.
I said before, Phil, I think that the 2012 Rangers, such an underappreciated team. And that team had so much guts. And it was just unbelievable what they were able to do.
Cup Finals matchup and winner? I don't really know.
Right now, I'll say it's last night's game.
I mean,
yeah, you can say Florida.
That could be one of them. I really don't know, to tell you the truth. I just so much going on. I know that's not what you want to hear, but
I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces. An injury could change things right now. That could change around a lot. By the way, thanks to over 137 of you watching, and we got a lot of people that are watching us on X right now. Come join us on YouTube as well.
Oh, here's a fun little fact. Rod Langway lives down in Richmond, Virginia, home of Zach Jones. Makes sense because that's not far from where the Capitals play. Rod spent a lot of time in Washington. Jones's family owns hockey bars down here in close to Langway. You've told me about Jones's family owning the bar down there, Sean. Mm-hmm. I didn't know about the Langway part.
Yeah, I did not know about that either. This is a question that's going to be in the offseason, and it's going to be a very curious one. Because
I wouldn't give him any more than what he's getting. I just don't trust him. I don't. And you can't afford to make the same mistake they made with Stahl and Girardi. If they go ahead and do that, then that just shows that they just do not learn.
Stahl, Girardi, and Callahan. They ended up getting rid of Callahan, but Stahl and Girardi, there were 2 guys that blocked a ton of shots, and it's wear and tear on the body. And if you don't believe me on that, look over at Barclay Goodrow.
It's just it never works. You can't go giving contracts to guys like that. I mean, I agree. It's his health is a major concern. It's not good. It's really not. Welcome to the show, Taves.
Hey.
And I mean, I thought they were good for the first period. The second period was a lull, and then the latter part of the third period they played better, but not good enough for about 30 minutes of that game. Best defense never win the Norris.
Yeah, by the way, I was going to ask you if it's the same answer as me, but let me just say that just came down to basically the Kreider turnover, because the Rangers then get the empty net goal with Lafreniere, and then they almost got there.
Yeah.
Best defenseman never to win the Norris. We got 2 minutes, Phil.
There's a few guys at the top of the list.
You're gonna say mine. I know you are.
If you want me to give you three, I can give you three right off the top of my head. One is Brad Park. Number two is Phil Housley, and number three is Scott Stevens. Probably, I could even throw in Larry Murphy in there.
Wow. Okay, you didn't say mine at all. I was going Shea Weber, but yeah, Brad Park is definitely.
Weber was good, very good, but I don't think he was. I think the others were all better. And Larry Murphy was a guy that probably should have won one. Phil Housley could have won it in '93 because that Winnipeg Jets offense went through him and Solani, and that's how they got to the playoffs that year.
Yeah,
it was he and Solani. So Housley is the closest to ever scoring 100 points without scoring 197 points in 1993. Just remember that.
Yeah.
96 a couple of times. Housley at 97 in 1993.
And this is the thing. When you say Lindgren's metrics are not good this season, but there's more to it than just Corsi stats and metrics. So when you talk about the guy, you need somebody to block a shot. Ryan Lindgren will do it with his face.
Yes, Scott Niedermayer won in 2004. Gary Suter never won. And obviously Lidstrom, I don't know why Matt is saying that. I guess that's sarcastic, but Lidstrom won like 7 and 9 years or something, I think it was.
Yeah. And yeah, again, the
or denied Park, yeah, at least 2 Norris trophies. I would agree with that one.
There's so many of them that like he was Brad Park was basically number 2, embodied his entire career in a way because he was always number 2. And yes, by the way, thank you guys.
Please like, share, subscribe, definitely.
But he was the second best defenseman when Orr was there. He wore number 2. He always finished number 2 in the Norris voting. And then now there's a better number 2 on his own franchise. So
David Wood said Barrett Jackman as a joke, but Barrett Jackman won the Calder in 03 over Zetterberg.
Yes, he did. He was almost like Ed Jovanovski in his first season.
Jackman, no.
No, I mean as far as like his impact on the game. Yeah. So
yeah, a different type, different thing. Yes.
Different era. Yeah.
Not even different era. It's the same era. It's just
Jovanovski
was more of a puck mover right off the bat. And Jackman was never a puck mover, but Jackman played big minutes because of an injury to Pronger, I believe, that year. He was out in 02-03.
That wasn't the year of the President's Trophy for them, right?
No, Pronger won the Hart and the Norris in 2000 when they won the President's Trophy.
Yeah.
03, yeah, Pronger only played 5 games in 03, and Jackman had to step up. And Jackman played big minutes for them in 2003. That was Al McInnes's last good season because the year afterwards he wasn't really that great.
All right. Hugh Jessamine never won a North.
He only played 3 games in 04. That's right. Yeah, but he had a 68-point season in 03 and finished as the runner-up to the Norris and Nick Lidstrom in 03. I think McInnes honestly should have won it that year. Detroit had a much better team.
But yeah, Barrett Jackman, and didn't he have a brother too? Was it Rick Jackman or something like that?
I don't think Rick or Tim were related to him.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong there, but one of them is definitely not.
Oh, J.E., I will always see Jessamine anywhere. You put Jessamine in any conversation, I'll highlight that. After all, he was drafted number 1. If you guys want a good laugh, and people have been watching it lately, my second video I ever did for this channel was the worst draft picks in Rangers history. And it was no surprise, Hugh Jackman. Not Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jessamine. Might as well be Hugh Jackman.
Barrett Jackman's not related to either Tim or Rick.
Yeah. I mean, Hugh Jessamine, if you took the combined stats at the time I made that video, you're looking well over 2,000 points. The Rangers could have thrown a dart at the board and gotten anyone else that was better. All right, Philk. Best pick right up there. McElrath was close. I think McElrath might have been 2. So let's play the music out.
Ranger bust? Yeah, that's probably number 2 right there, because it was a panic knee-jerk reaction to getting bullied by the Flyers in a 2-game home and home at the end of the season. And they went and took him over Kuznetsov. They went and took him over Fowler, Tarasenko, Jaden Schwartz. I mean, there were so many other players they could have taken in that draft year, and they absolutely screwed the pooch by taking McElrath.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I mean, the funny part is McElrath is still playing right now. I think he's with the Pittsburgh farm team. I saw him recently.
No, he's with Washington's Hershey Bears.
Okay. Oh, they're the Hershey Bears. I thought they would be.
No, Washington has had Hershey's for a while.
Okay. But I mean, I forgot why I saw him. It was some event that was there.
Jack Campbell, Cam Fowler, Jaden Schwartz, Vladimir Tarasenko, Nick Bukestad, Mark Pesic, Kevin Hayes, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Charlie Coyle, and Brock Nelson, all taken after Dylan McElrath in that first round.
And it just makes you shake your head. It really just makes you shake your head. All right, guys, time for us to go for today. Thanks again for joining us, and of course, watching the Bar Talk with us. Look for the segments that we're going to have throughout the week on this. Probably not tomorrow morning, but I am going to run, and I have dinner with a lovely woman waiting for me. Phil, what do you got for tonight?
I'll say one last thing. Saquon Barkley I could care less about what happens to him right now. I mean, you turned down a massive deal from the Giants, like a 3-year deal that would have given him, I think, over like $40 million, and then you wanted, then you go and sign with the Eagles. Hey, whatever, man. Hope you stay healthy.
Yeah, and it's a shame. I like Barkley too. It's just, he's a game breaker, but guys like that come and go pretty quickly. Think of how quickly Chris Johnson was in and out of the league. So, I get it. All right, we are out of here, guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday night. And unless there's any good post games to do, take it easy.